Wait.
Wait for it.
Hello? Wait. Hello?
If you say hello too soon.
Is this thing, hold on, is this thing on? Hello?
That's going to be super annoying.
Hello? Are the peoples there? Sorry, I channeled my long gone grandfather. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the Common Censor live stream. We're so glad you're here with us. We got a lot of big stories to talk about. We try and answer your questions, your comments, things like that. As many of you know, I believe this is the only. Oh, maybe I should go live on Rockfin.
One time,
you didn't.
I don't.
You didn't say it.
Well, because I felt like maybe it's time to let you out into the world on your own.
You were pushing the baby bird out of the nest.
I was. And you just.
Uh-huh. Okay. Wonderful.
Is it working?
Yeah, I think it should. All right, there we go. So anyway, as many of you already know, thanks again for joining us. Please take a second to share this, by the way. Let people know that you're here. Hit the thumbs up. That's important too, because that helps the algorithm, because YouTube goes, oh, maybe people like this stuff. And then it shows it to other people. For those of you who don't know, we are perhaps the only live stream that I've seen, maybe at least the only political live stream that donates all of the Super Chat donations back to you guys. It goes back to those who are struggling. You can email commoncensor@protonmail.com. We'll talk more about that later. We'll read some thank yous from the people who get the money. So a little donation goes a long way. And if you donate on the Super Chat, or you donate on Venmo @LeeCamp, or on Rockfin, all of those donations go back to those of you who are struggling. So thank you so much for being a part of that.
Ooh, I like this question. What do clouds smell like?
Well, we're starting on a big one.
You know what?
No, LED wants to know what clouds smell like.
Well, honestly, this is an interesting question.
What the clouds were emitted from.
Well, true. But I can't remember what book that I was reading, but it made an interesting point that we don't actually know what rain smells like, because since industrialization,
yeah,
there's been so much air pollution. I'm sorry, I'm a total downer. That we don't actually know what rain smells like. And I think about this, like when you're in a museum and you see like those paintings from like the 1700s where they, it's this beautiful landscape or something. And you're just like, God, I wonder what that smelled like to just be like out in nature before industrialization.
Before anything, yeah.
That was probably more depressing than you wanted. But
oh yeah, a little depressing. You made me think of like when you smell rain out in an open area where you're not near anything, and I get that still has industrialization, but it feels like it smells far fresher. Probably because you're getting the farm bounce back.
Yes,
the rain coming
and
from beneath.
There are places on this planet that haven't been totally destroyed. So, thank you.
There are very much. Thank you so much.
I can't.
Ecuadorian taco.
Wow.
It's reading. You just got to know where to put the space.
Yeah, see, I couldn't. My brain stopped at Equad.
For those of you listening to the podcast, some of you don't watch this, you actually listen to it. And for those of you listening, if you hear us say thank you, it's someone who has donated. As we said, all of the donations go back to you guys. Nicole Dickens, thank you.
Thank you.
For the donation. So, yeah, let's get into some stories. And I'm going to tease this and not tell you the rest of the info until later. For those of you listening at home, Lee Camp held up an album. Anyway.
Oh God, we're going to have to do this for everything.
For those of you listening at home, Lee Camp is missing an ear.
It was a Van Gogh episode this past weekend.
Yes, indeed. So let's talk about Joe Biden, who just did the noble, the brave thing for all of us. He did this for all of humanity, really. He pardoned some turkeys.
Oh, really? That's already happened?
I think he already did it, yeah.
Well, isn't that premature?
Well, you got to pardon them before they're killed. If you do it after, it's...
Well, that seems typical U.S. fashion, doesn't it?
True.
But
I thought he already did it. You showed me a quote of him during the pardon ceremony.
Oh, was that during the pardon ceremony?
Yeah, he was pardoning turkeys, and someone asked him, "What about? Are you going to pardon any of the people locked up for nonviolent pot crimes, weed crimes?" And he just goes, "Only turkeys."
Only turkeys.
Okay, asshole. How about something important? How about you do something that has any meaning
No.
whatsoever? How about you not just fucking meander around doing the same shit that happened under Trump? It just has a different fucking face to it. How about that? No, I'm just going to pardon some
And
turkeys.
actually, as we covered on last week's Common Censored, the podcast, Biden's actually doing a crackerjack job worse than Trump on some issues, including things like migrant detention.
Keyword cracker.
Touche. But a few days ago, I tweeted that there's currently a backlog, and I got this information from Color of Change, the organization. There's currently a backlog of over 18,000 people waiting for their clemency applications to be reviewed, and that includes more than 4,000 people currently finishing sentences on home confinement that they were granted due to COVID. Meanwhile, Biden is pardoning a bird.
Well, also there's so many different. Thank you, Noli D, for the donation. Really awesome of you. There's so many like things that could be talked about every time these idiots pardon turkeys. So for one thing, this started, apparently this JFK may have done it some, but it really got bigger under Reagan. It started to become a ceremony where they like, oh, we are pardoning the turkey we've been given today. And it's hilarious because it's like this feel good, like, oh, they're not killing the turkey. But millions upon millions of turkeys are executed every holiday season. Like, why not talk for 2 seconds about factory farming? Just a fucking second. Just say the words factory farming. The horror shows that factory farming is, and none of that gets discussed. Even in articles about pardoning the turkeys, they won't mention factory farming. Like,
which also, let's talk about the state of journalism in this country, that there are articles about pardoning a turkey. It's like I saw a tweet by the New York Times. This was a serious tweet, last week at some point, and the article was, "Is it dangerous to eat these stickers on fruit?"
It's pretty important stuff.
Well, because, I really feel like if we can answer that question, then our future is it's bright,
And Stephen is correctly bringing up that multiple other people should be pardoned, such as Julian fucking Assange and Stephen fucking Donziger.
Yeah, the list is long, and turkeys are not really on that list. I mean,
Mumia, Leonard Peltier, Jessica Resnicek. You could go down the list. But
I mean, the thing is that, like, the factory farming is one thing, which is absolutely horrific, that is not discussed at all. And then the other thing is, what the fuck is the deal with pardoning a turkey when the entire holiday revolves around eating a turkey? Yeah. That's kind of like, I just don't. It's kind of like having like if the entire White House had like a peace festival right before they dropped bombs on children. It's like, why? What is the fucking point? I don't understand.
Right. Like, it'd be like if they had a display of one of the bombs that they were going to drop, and they made a big show of being like, we're not going to drop this bomb.
Right.
Meanwhile, all of the other ones are still being dropped. What was the point of that ceremony then? That was almost the opposite of the ceremony you should have had. Right. You should have walked out and said, here's one of the bombs, all of which we're dropping. Like,
it's so perplexing to me. Of course, that this, is part of the larger issue of what a bullshit holiday Thanksgiving is anyway, which I believe, Lee, you covered a little bit of this on your most recent Government Secrets.
Yes, I did a podcast with Graham Elwood, Government Secrets, where we covered some of the first Thanksgiving, where the Wampanoag had helped some of the Pilgrim settlers survive, but they didn't do it because they were idiots. Thank you, River Run. They didn't do it because they were idiots. The Wampanoag want you to know this. They said, like, people pretend that Native Americans were just like, I guess white people are going to do good stuff. Okay, here's how to survive, because I'm sure you're going to be nice. And their point is, no, it's not that this is the Wampanoag, elders nowadays saying this. It's not that we were idiots. It's that a calculated choice was made, that they'd seen other white people. They thought that maybe these with families, women and children there, were going to be a little bit better to them. And they were making a decision about allies. They knew they had other wars waging, other white people they had to fight. And they thought maybe these guys with muskets we could work with. And so they allied with them. But at the first Thanksgiving, despite the fact that the Wampanoag had allowed the Pilgrims to survive by helping them learn how to harvest, they were not invited to the first Thanksgiving. They showed up when they heard guns going off and thought a war was beginning. And then the Pilgrims, seeing 100 armed Wampanoag warriors show up, were like, "Hey, join us. We meant to call you. We don't know what happened. It got lost in the mail." You know how mail is in these early American times. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So there's also I can't remember. I think it's indigenousmutualaid.org, or if you just Google Indigenous Mutual Aid, there's some great information. There's a post called "No Thanks, No Giving," and it's an Indigenous-led, obviously, site that discusses a lot about issues of decolonizing our practices, decolonizing our minds. And there's some really great information on there, so I definitely recommend that to folks.
And just one last point about the pardoning the turkey. It's not so. There's factory farming that they could be talking about, but they also could be talking about the fact that animal agriculture is one of the top causes of climate change. So our planet is dying because of these fucking facilities where we are producing, raising in torturous condition millions upon millions. I think it's literally billions of turkeys or chickens or pigs, cows, and like that is destroying our planet. So it's like, are you going to have that discussion at all? No, we're just going to pardon this one turkey and we're going to all giggle about it. And yeah.
Well, it's kind of like how the U.S. military is not brought up in conversations about climate change.
Right.
That wasn't a commentary that you saw at COP26. People going to the U.S. and being like, "Hey, your military emits as many greenhouse gases as that's equal to 140 countries. Do you want to talk about this
combined?"
So yeah, no, these things are considered totally disparate issues. And I think that's also something that's very important that we talk about in how we organize, is that the longer that we see these issues as disparate, as like these separate silos, the longer we're just going to be fucking like shadow boxing demons here, because you can't actually get to the root cause, the root issues, unless you see how they're all connected. So talking about climate change without talking about factory farming or big ag, without talking about the military, is just completely useless. And also, if we're talking about building a society that's based on justice and sustainability, you also have to talk about factory farming, because it's, as Lee has pointed out before, it's torture farming. It is absolutely fucking atrocious, the way that these animals are tortured. So you really can't have conversations about larger issues without getting into these intersections. So
yeah. So thank you guys for joining us. Please take a second. There's several hundred of you watching, but only 90 thumbs up. So please take a second to click thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. All the donations go back to you guys who are struggling. Great causes. And thank you, Southern States, $20.
Southern Sass.
Oh, sorry, Southern Sass. Very much appreciated. All these donations go back. And if you're not listening to this live or you're listening to the podcast, you can donate on Venmo at Lee Camp. They all go to people who are struggling. Also this week, we're going to donate a portion to a great cause. If you want to talk a little more about that.
I would love to. So also this week, and actually whenever you're listening to this, I've asked folks to donate to this in honor of my birthday, which is December 6th.
Hey,
also
happy
Hanukkah,
birthday.
which is next week, and Pagan Solstice, which is December 21st, and then that weird holiday that's based on some dude with a beard. And some,
did you get all that?
And some baby in a manger. Okay, so I'm not sure how the dude with the beard is connected to the baby in the manger, but whatever. Anyway, so we're also...
Hold on, the dude with the beard fucked Mary Magdalene, is it?
Very possibly. Actually, do you know what? There's this very interesting series of books about Jesus that's written.
Oh, there's a lot of books about Jesus.
No, I know. But this one specifically is written by an archaeologist who has done a lot of work in, these areas where Jesus, wandered around his old stomping ground, so to speak.
Thanks, Florin.
And has suggested that Jesus was fathered by a Roman soldier named Pantera, which for all of you
Great
metalheads
name.
out there is the most awesome fucking news. I mean, come on. Jesus' dad was named Pantera.
I really thought it was anthrax that impregnated Mary Magdalene.
So anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, but we are also raising funds for a place called the Baldwin House, which is a concept and something that we're working towards here in Washington, D.C., a housing co-op as well as a mutual aid hub. And basically this stems from the drive to try and purchase property that is being put up for sale by a really shitty landlord. And instead of letting it be sold to a company that's just going to, bulldoze these apartments and put up some kind of gentrification bullshit. DC is one of the fastest gentrifying cities in the nation. We really want to try and keep this space for low-income, predominantly Black and brown folks who are being pushed out of these neighborhoods at accelerating rates. And also in that same space, create a mutual aid hub so that there's somewhere for people to go as a home for organizing. And it's called the Baldwin House because James Baldwin, named after...
Not everybody knows that much about James Baldwin. If you want to say one or two words.
I could say all of the words.
Who he is.
James Baldwin was such a fucking badass. I mean, all of the quotes. He's probably most famous for writing Notes of a Native Son, and there was a film, like a documentary, not too long ago a few years ago, maybe.
Yeah, like 3, 4 years ago.
It's called I'm Not Your Negro. Is that what it was called?
Believe so.
And I mean, his writing is just incredibly powerful, incredibly poetic and eloquent, and yet raw and jagged and fucking brilliant. And I personally have learned so much from reading his work, and not just in terms of understanding like the aspect of race in the United States, also understanding things like creativity. He talks a lot about the role of artists in society. So that was more than a few words. So you should never ask me to say a few words. This is why no one asked me to speak at events, because I can't do a few words.
I thought you
Tony.
did. I thought you did an excellent job.
I was about
Thank you, Tony.
Go off on quoting him. But anyway, so this is it's going to be named after James Baldwin, and what we're looking for now is raising the capital to purchase this so that we can basically turn it into a housing co-op and a mutual aid hub here in Washington, D.C. And this is what we're partially raising funds for tonight. But again, please feel free to donate at any time, because I'm also asking folks to just throw some money that way if you have it. I'm going to post the site here in the what is this called? The chat. And if you're listening to this and you don't have a chat to look at, it is givebutter.com/Baldwin House. So give butter like moo cow butter.
Be careful not to go to givebutt.com. It is a completely different site. I cannot stress how different these sites are. Just so you know.
A little PTSD from that.
Oh, well, to all of the PTSD. I'm going to read 2 thank yous, and then I'll get to more thank yous later. So these are people who were helped from the last live stream when you guys donated, and those donations went to people who are struggling. If that's you, you can email Common Censored, that is an ED at the end, at protonmail.com.
Thank you.
The amount we're able to get to people usually ranges from $50 to $80. It's not millions, so don't email us and tell us that your mansion is falling off the cliffs in Hollywood because of erosion, because of climate change, and you would like to replace it with a secondary mansion.
But
That
that's such a
is
bummer.
unlikely. Yes, we feel bad for you, but we're not going to be able to help that much. Anyway, here's 2 thank yous from people. Anne said, "Oh my God, thank you so much. What a surprise. Sob, sob, in gratitude deeply. I'm in tears. Everything has felt so hard, but you guys have made life a bit easier. Bless you."
That's you
So-
guys.
So yeah, that's all of you. As I always say, we are the middle people that don't take a cut. So these thank yous are truly for you. Muhammad said, "Thank you. I don't have the words to thank you. Bless you." So I'll get to more thank yous later. And most of the thank yous, I don't read them because they generally are like, "Thank you!" exclamation point, which it'd be a little weird to just be like, "Thank you." Number 2, "Thank you." Number 3, "Thank you very much." Number 4. So
And just to be clear, y'all, you don't have to send like eloquent thank yous. We're not saying that like
no, fuck that. We want iambic pentameter. I cannot stress this enough. Iambic pentameter thank yous, and they need to reference some sort of mystical god.
I don't even think I'd know iambic pentameter if I read it.
That was slightly off. You were close though. uh, so
Yes. So thank y'all for making this all possible.
okay, so moving on to the next topic. We would love to get topics from you if there's something you would like to hear us speak on, the topics that have happened in the news recently. But I was thinking that we could mention that Nicaragua, and I covered this a little on Redacted, Nicaragua beat another U.S.-backed coup attempt. And these, as you know, these are kind of standard operating procedure where the U.S. tries to fuck up the election of a country they're trying to, switch the presidency. And if they fail to fuck up the election, meaning in this case, the Sandinistas won easily. If they fail to fuck up the election, the U.S., that is, and the right, the oligarchy, the oligarchy in exile of these places, then they will claim the election was not legit. So they're doing that right now in Nicaragua. And one of the organizations that is really effective in helping the U.S. do that is called OAS, the Organization of American States. And a lot of Latin American countries signed on to OAS. It was kind of like the idea is this cooperative organization where they could get together, and if one of them wasn't behaving correctly, they could call them out. But now it's been basically completely captured by U.S.-backed countries like Colombia, Brazil, etc. So Nicaragua has announced they're leaving OAS. OAS is now has become largely a garbage entity that just says Nicaragua's elections aren't real. Venezuela's elections aren't real. Bolivia, OAS was very effective in claiming Bolivia's elections were not real when all unbiased observers say these elections are much better than U.S. elections.
Because our elections are shit.
Yeah.
And every time the international election observers look at Venezuela or, in this case, Nicaragua, they're always like, well, this is really, democratic, and this is really well done. There's what do they call it when they go back at the end of the day? And God damn it, what is that called?
Go back at the end of the day?
And double check.
Audit?
Thank you. They are.
I was like, a look-see? A pixie?
I could have come up with looks.
A pickaroony? I don't know.
And these are things that have been pointed out several times. Meanwhile, our elections have been pointed out several times to be hugely undemocratic and a giant load of bullshit.
Yeah, among other things, you know what other countries don't have? Fucking super delegates. Have you ever heard of super delegates in other countries? Have you ever heard of the Electoral College in other countries? We have the fakest, most fraudulent, most corrupt, bullshit, garbage, festering pile of termite shit elections anywhere in the world, and yet we point to other countries and go, they're not doing democracy right.
Well put, Lee.
Mic drop.
Yeah, no, it's absolute bullshit. But this is exactly how the U.S. works, right? Like we have horrific human rights violations, and then we turn to somebody like Cuba, whose main export are doctors, and we're like, I can't believe the human rights violations in Cuba. Which, by the way, another thing, another U.S. empire fail. The November 15th protests that, oddly enough, the U.S. was already talking about them like a month before they happened. Like, we're already in favor of the November 15th protests that are happening in Cuba. And I was like, what are you fucking... The only people who know about that are the people organizing it.
Right.
So
literally the U.S. was like, so we're going to try and create a coup November 15th, and we very much support that coup. We would just like to put it out there now. Let people know in advance if they could mark it down on their calendars, maybe put a little reminder, a Post-it note of sorts, coup attempt November 15th. Anyway, nothing happened. It was hilariously pathetic coup attempt by the U.S. It's interesting because I like to make fun of the U.S. when we fail at our stupid coup attempts, but also that's what I prefer to happen. So I both make fun of us, and I'm like, but keep it up. Keep doing pathetic, non-effective coup attempts.
And I think, one of the things here that's really important to point out, because I think this nuance oftentimes gets lost. The important thing to point out is that these failed coup attempts in these countries does not mean that everybody in that country is like, forced to say that they love their country, or being so oppressed that they feel that they can't go out and say we have problems with the government. And a lot of them do have critiques of the government. When Lee and I were in Cuba with a Code Pink delegation a few years ago, I spoke to several people on the streets who had complaints, and then also said, but a lot of this is because of your country's fucking embargo on us. If you would just leave us the fuck alone, then we could address some of the problems that we have. Because a lot of it stems from the economic stranglehold that the United States has on these countries, which is, Cuba is a classic example. And by classic, I literally mean that because it's been going on for more than 50 years. But Nicaragua and Venezuela and Bolivia. And so I think what's really important is to highlight the anti-imperialist framework and the lens that these people have with regards to what's going on. They're not fucking fooled when they see these coup attempts. They're like, that is so blatant and obvious.
Right.
And to suggest that our issues with our government would make us want to support a US backed coup is fucking dumb. And it's the same thing that we see happening with, Iran. Nothing brings a country together like having a common enemy, like the largest empire that the world has ever seen. And so, having spoken to people from Iran, it's the same story. In particular, some female activists that said, like, of course I have issues with my government, but right now the most important thing is getting the U.S. to leave us the fuck alone so that we can address these issues internally.
Right. It's not that nobody has complaints of a government in whichever country. It's that many of the people there understand. I may have complaints with my government. I may have complaints with Ortega or something, but I don't want the U.S. to create a coup here. This is our country. Fuck the invaders. Fuck the colonizers. Let us do our shit. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's been great interviews with Iraqis that have said, I remember hearing one of them that said, look, Saddam Hussein was fucking awful for us. We hated him, but we didn't want U.S. to invade. Yeah. It's our shit to deal with, and we were trying to deal with it, and you killed 1 million people, which is not the fucking answer. So, yeah, you just see this again and again and again. Quick note, I noticed after we stopped there to talk about how important it was to donate, everyone stopped donating. So I guess maybe we shouldn't mention it anymore. No, I'm kidding, but it would be awesome. Even if you only have a couple of dollars. I know many people don't have lots of money, but it'd be cool if, just to see 5 people donate $1 or something, because this shit adds up. That's the whole idea of this. It's like, we got a lot of people here. Many of you are listening to this after the fact, after it's live, which you can donate on Venmo at Lee Camp. So we do get donations there. So what you're seeing right now is not 100% of donations, but yeah, it's crowdsourcing, helping each other is what it is. We all chip in a couple of dollars and we try and make it so that people have somewhere where they can get a few bucks to get groceries that week. So, yeah.
Sorry, was I supposed to? I was supposed to book in.
Were you asleep there?
I did black out for
I'm
a split
sorry.
second.
I'll try and be more interesting.
No.
If I juggle, will it help?
No, you know what it was? I just my brain and I went for a little walk, and it has nothing to do with you.
Went for a little walk. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Jim donating $20. When it comes to defending nature in court, everyone and anyone has standing, meaning a cause for taking it to court, because we are all a part of nature. In fact, we are part of nature that is making this litigation happen. That's a great point in terms of standing, because they often say, "Oh, you can't prosecute, you can't come after a corporation because you don't have standing. They didn't impact your lives; they impacted others." But when it comes to nature, it's fucking all of us.
We are nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of, paradigm shifts and issues, that's definitely one that needs to, because the longer that we look at ourselves as apart from nature and not part of the ecosystems in which we live, then the longer we will perpetuate this kind of destruction, because we will see it as disposable. But, it's kind of like you wouldn't, most people, you wouldn't kill off your entire family. And if we realize that these ecosystems in which we live are literally our family, and I'm not saying that as some hippy dippy shit, I'm saying it like literally we cannot survive without them, then we could actually affect the necessary change to have a livable future.
I'm thinking of going to a philosophical topic next.
You were inspired by my...
Oh, no, I loved your speech. That was excellent.
I wasn't being sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
Were you inspired?
Yeah. It sounded like you were being sarcastic.
I think that's just how I talk. It's like when people ask me if I'm pissed, and I'm like, no, I just have resting bitch face.
You notice that's another of our misogynistic cultural standards. If a woman has that face, it's called resting bitch face. Mm-hmm. If a man has it, he's called a serious man. He's very serious.
A dedicated and
hardworking,
no nonsense.
Hardworking, no nonsense man.
Yeah.
Or resting bitch face. Hey, thank you, Jameson.
Thank you.
Huge donation. Much. And Jameson also a couple of weeks ago donated what?
Are you reading it?
Well, I was trying to talk.
Why don't you read it and then talk?
However much is raised from here on out till you sign off, I'll match. Holy shit. Whoa. You have my email, which is true. Send me the total after the stream. Congrats on all of this. Oh, on the kiddo too. Thank you so much,
Jameson. That's awesome.
Jameson. So you guys heard that. We have about a half hour left. Jameson has already donated $50, and he's saying he will match everything. So you're getting double the impact for everything you donate. And I will add up all this stuff. I mean, we can keep a loose...
For the first time, I'm going to fucking keep trying. Give me a pen. Do you have a smaller pen?
Well, I'm trying to do 8 things here. I was trying to speak, and you were like, are you reading? Yeah, I'm reading as I speak about something else. What the fuck? Jesus.
Oh, wait, that's not connected. Hold on. Everything's falling apart.
What are you talking about?
Okay, yes.
All right. Carry on. So for everybody who donates, we will double, Jameson will double the amount. Pretty incredible.
So come on, folks. Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Lee's about to get philosophical. That's worth a donation.
See, even the way you said that, Lee's about to get philosophical, so you know shit's gone to hell. Thank you, Donna. So Donna just donated $5, which makes it $10 once you add in Jameson's contribution. I thought I'd read a couple more thank yous real quick. Andrew received some of 2 weeks ago's donations, and he said, thank you so much. I'm touched. It will really help. Scott said, thank you so much. I will donate it back or pay it forward when I can. Eugene said, thanks. This is appreciated. If I find employment, I will pay it back, or someone else can benefit from your show's mutual aid. Thank you, Chuck. So several of the people, the thank yous I just read you, said that they will pay it forward once they have the money to do so, which is a common theme that we hear from people. It's totally not required, totally not necessary. Many of people that benefit from this don't have the ability to do that, which is fine. But I've noticed that a lot of people say, thank you, and I will get this back to either back into the Solidarity Fund or back to someone else in their life.
And here's another thank you. First of all, thank you for hanging out with us, Baba Yaga. And this thank you really goes out to all of y'all watching and listening. Thank you and bless you for the donation, Eleanor and Lee. I paid my electric bill and bought food for Thanksgiving. And we're so glad to hear it. And thank you so much again for being here and hanging out. So you're gonna get philosophical with us?
Maybe.
Come on.
Well, would you rather talk about quantum mechanics or why evolution exists?
I don't know. I don't ask me that question because I'm such a nerd. I mean, both of those sound awesome. I love this kind of shit.
Let's start off
when I'm not reading really depressing stories about what's going on the planet. I'm reading about like dark matter and fucking quantum physics. And thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. Let's start off with why does evolution exist? Now, many of you know the basics. Whoa, Morgan. Awesome.
Thank you.
Many of you know the basics of evolution, obviously, that we have mutations. Mother of all shorts is coming. So he's talking about stock market stuff. I think. Anyway, thank you so much, Morgan. But many of you know the basics of evolution, that we have genetic mutations, and the ones that work better tend to continue on in the gene pool. But of course, in many ways, this is it's only true in certain aspects that you end up with beneficial evolution. So humans have evolved to be the most intelligent in terms of our ability to compute certain things that have ever existed. Yet, so far, and if we continue down this path, we will be one of the species that took over and destroyed the Earth quickest of any. And the others arguably didn't destroy the Earth. I mean, they were killed by asteroids and things like that. But dinosaurs didn't lead so the argument that evolution always promotes the better ability is true maybe in a short-term kind of way, but not necessarily always true in other ways. Many animals evolve in certain ways that ultimately causes their downfall.
Well, and also when you look at us as like the top of the food chain and the best, so to speak, well, what does that mean? We're not the fastest. We're not the strongest. We're not the pick another word. We're not the best, or we're not exceptional we're not number one at so many different things.
Yeah, we don't have the greatest numbers on Earth.
We don't have
the greatest mass on Earth. We are killing ourselves in many ways. We cause more harm to each other than many types of animals and things.
Oh yeah, we're the only we're the only animals that kill each other for fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's evolution's interesting like that. It seems like it creates a better species, and it does in certain aspects, but not all told.
And it's also, I mean, evolution is also not like a straight line. Like a lot of people think that evolution goes like this, that it's a linear thing.
Oh no, it's totally jagged.
Right.
I mean, the hominids that ultimately became humans were just one of many different brands, and all the others died out, meaning they were all evolving kind of maybe in this direction, some in other directions, but many, they all died out. So we just ended up being in some ways lucky. I mean, it's at one point the number of Homo sapiens was like below 10,000. Right. It was a tiny little group in southern Africa that was still surviving.
And didn't you tell me not too long ago that there were like several different species that evolved into crabs for some reason?
For some reason, animals have evolved. I've read this in one of the science magazines. Animals have evolved into crabs 5 times over the course that we found over the course of
which I love.
History
what is
of the
it
Earth.
About crabs? I mean, they look cool.
I mean, it's a lot of good movement. Like you're able to go right and left, forward and backward. But then also, you got some of them have the 2 big pinchers. Some of them just got the 1 Popeye arm and then the tiny little extra one. And so clearly something happened where that was better for them. And it's interesting because they'll use the big one to defend themselves and to attract a mate. They go, hey baby, look at these guns. So they have that, but then they got the little one, and sometimes you'll see that they use the little one to like eat. So the other one's just here like, I'll take you all on, and then they're just picking up their little tiny things with the other one. Oh.
Which, if you watch like an octopus documentary, you don't think that being a crab is that good of a lot in life.
Being a crab. Oh yeah,
Right.
Octopus will fuck up a crab.
They get fucked up.
Fuck up a crab.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
Octopus are incredibly smart, and there are some theories that they would have probably evolved into the thing that like runs Earth, that like takes over Earth, except for the fact that they have such a short lifespan. They
3 years.
Like it's many of them are 1 year, and then the like larger ones can live to 3 years. But I think all of them, 3 years might be the max. 3 or 4 years might be the max for all of them. But they die when they create their young. So
yeah, well that's rough. But yeah,
a rough lot in life.
Yeah, I mean the natural world is not warm and fuzzy in a lot of ways. I mean,
listen, we need the other octopus lovers to
River Run.
River
wow,
Run. Thank you
so much
to River Run and Jameson. So by donating $50, River Run actually just donated $100 because Jameson has offered to match that. So pretty incredible. And all of these donations go to help people in need, people who are struggling. But I want to take a moment real quick to talk about Eleanor's new vinyl album. You've heard of her album No Solo, which is new from a few months ago. But now the vinyl has come out, and it's fucking gorgeous, and it sounds amazing, and it's semi-translucent and red, and it's fucking amazing. And if you buy it, so if anyone buys it, they're all signed copies, right?
Yes.
So if any of you buy it, you get a signed copy. It's at artkillingapathy.com, and I highly recommend it.
Thanks. They'll start shipping in December, and yeah, I'm super proud of how it turned out, and it's my first vinyl, and yeah, so if y'all have a record player, then do consider
grabbing a signed copy.
It makes a great gift, for the holidays, because it's not corporate bullshit. So if you're gonna buy something, you can always support radical, independent, grassroots artists.
Artkillingapathy.com. I just put in the comments thread is where you can get the vinyl. Natural Law says, what is vinyl? I'm guessing Natural Law is 20 years old or so, because
I'm guessing that's a joke.
Many people love vinyl because it sounds better, and it's a lot of fun.
Somebody I worked in recording studios for 10 years in Los Angeles, and I remember I aligned my first tape machine when I was 18. And I remember, thank you, Carne Verde. I remember listening to something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a song that I had heard before. And I just turned and looked at my boss, and I was like, holy fuck, this sounds amazing. And he was like, yes, tell your generation. And I've been trying to since. But yeah, vinyl sounds amazing. And for those who are audio nerds like myself, it did pass through tape. So I'm not just going from digital to printing on vinyl.
I don't know the words you're saying either. So.
Well, I'm saying to the fellow audio nerds out there,
Literally, there's like a debate going on right now in the comment thread as to what vinyl is.
I'm hoping mostly it's a joke. Although it's funny, there was somebody at a party not that long ago that didn't know how to put on a record, and I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, those times are coming. But vinyl's made a big comeback. I don't think CDs are ever going to make a comeback.
CDs suck ass. Let's just be honest. It's not a good format. It's not good for storing information. It's also just, it doesn't sound good.
So real quick, if we get $100 in the next 5 or so minutes, we'll stay an extra 10 minutes. That would be amazing if you guys could chip in. As Jameson said, he is doubling everything you donate. So truly awesome.
He's matching it. Is that the same?
Yeah, that's what I mean, matching it. So, but you get double the bang for the buck.
It's kind of like one of those words like bi-weekly. Does that mean twice a week?
That means you have sex with either gender every week. Every week. That's bi-weekly. All right. So what other topics do you want to hit?
Well, I actually thought, there was a recent story of, in the midst of all of this shit, Lee.
Yes.
Sometimes it's nice to know that something good has happened.
Agreed.
And recently, this past week, there was a fight for clemency that actually worked. And I thought that this could be a good point to bring up, not only because of that, but also because you have a story regarding clemency.
I do.
Yes. Death row.
The death row, mate?
Yes.
Oh, well, let me look that up while you talk.
Wait, what do you mean?
Oh, you're talking about my old story. Okay,
yeah.
I thought you meant the guy in Oklahoma who just got his sentence commuted.
No, that's what I'm looking for in my email right now because
okay.
because I didn't.
Well, this goes back to pardoning the turkeys. We're back onto pardons.
We're back onto pardons, but this, so people were Julius. Why can't I? Hold on, everyone, just hold on for a second. I sent this to myself.
Oh, Julius Jones. Someone
Julius
just wrote.
Jones. Thank you.
Julius Jones.
Julius Jones was on death row for a crime that he did not commit. And the trial was a total fucking kangaroo court bullshit, hot mess. The stereotype that we oftentimes hear about in our criminal justice system, or as you like to point out, Lee, the criminal justice
criminal space justice system. Yeah.
And there's more information about the case if you go on Instagram at Justice for Julius. But there's basically this man was on death row, and now his sentence has been commuted to life in prison. The next step is to get him out of prison entirely, because again, he did not commit this crime. And if you look at the evidence, it's very, very obvious. But basically, this sentence was only commuted because of activism. And so I just want to share a little bit about that story.
Yeah.
In 1999, Julius Jones was a freshman, anticipated engineering major at the University of Oklahoma with a full scholarship. And basically what happened in the summer of 1999, Julius was arrested for the murder of Paul Howell, a white and prominent businessman in Edmond, Oklahoma. And at the time of the crime, Julius and his family say that he was at home. His attorneys, who had never tried a death penalty case before, for some reason didn't present his alibi in court.
Yeah, why would you need to present the fucking guy's alibi?
The only eyewitness to the shooting described the perpetrator as having a half-inch of hair sticking out from underneath a stocking cap. At the time, Julius's hair was closely cropped.
Thank you, American of color.
However, his co-defendant, a Christopher Jordan, had long hair that he wore in cornrows and matched the description of the shooter. Although Christopher Jordan gave 6 different and inconsistent statements about the crime to the police before trial, Julius's attorneys failed to cross-examine him on each of these inconsistent statements and also failed to present the testimony of 2 witnesses who overheard Jordan bragging about committing the crime and making a deal with prosecutors to blame Julius in order to avoid the death penalty. I'm not kidding. Racial bias, surprise, surprise.
Thank you, Deborah.
Permeated Julius's arrest, prosecution, and trial. During jury selection, all prospective Black jurors except 1 were eliminated from the jury. And Eugene Puryear of Breakthrough News has a great segment about this, about how uncommon it is to have any Black people on juries in the United States. because they're either barred from serving because of the criminal justice system, or they're basically in this case eliminated by if you've ever served on a jury, you know that there's jury selection. They're eliminated ahead of the actual trial because lawyers know that if there's any chance of a solidarity there, they want to fucking get rid of that chance as soon as possible.
Thank you, Rayborn.
So that there's not anybody on that jury that could feel like, oh, this is part of the racist criminal justice system. They want to try to eliminate that possibility ahead of time. So basically, the whole trial by a jury of your peers is something that is not possible in this country.
Thank you, Larry.
So basically, in 2016, the Oklahoma County's district attorney was a guy named Cowboy Bob Macy, who was named the second deadliest prosecutor in the U.S. by Harvard Law School's Fair Punishment Project. During his tenure, Macy placed 54 people on death row. 33% of those cases were eventually overturned because of prosecutorial misconduct. That's the prosecutor behind this case. So for the past 21 years, Julius has maintained his innocence and has no prior record of violence either before or during his time in prison, which is kind of not even important because he clearly didn't do this crime. But so all of that to say that basically the people who fought for Julius Jones to be removed from death row won, and the next step is for him to be released from prison. So the fight continues, but I think it's really, really, really important that we point out that the governor did not just commute this sentence because he woke up one day and was like, hey, this is fucked up.
Right.
He only did it because he was pushed to. And Lee, you have a similar story on that front as well, don't you?
Well, yeah, some of you might have heard me talk about this before, but years ago, thank you, Stephanie. Years ago, a death row prisoner named Kenneth Foster was going to be executed in Texas, and just a small group of activists got involved in trying to save him. He, unlike probably every death row inmate you've ever heard of, even the prosecution said he hadn't killed anyone. He was driving a car. His friend got out, got in a fight, killed someone, and they were going to put the driver to death. And because in Texas they do that shit.
There are a few states that have this rule too, that if you're just near the crime when it's committed, then you have the same culpability as the person who actually pulls the trigger.
Which is fucking
dumb.
Disgusting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Death penalty is disgusting in general.
Yes.
But anyway, small group of activists. I was also doing what I could, but I was nowhere near. I was in New York City. And so I just basically kind of pranked the governor by calling and saying I was with a film crew that wanted to film a documentary on the death of Kenneth Foster, and the film was going to be called Blood on Texas's Hands, and it made the press secretary very nervous. And anyway,
there's that creative activism, folks.
Anyway, ultimately, this guy's sentence was commuted, which is incredibly rare in Texas. So a small group of activists, I was barely a part of it, but a small group of activists basically saved this guy's life. And it shows only a tiny group of people can save people's lives, can have an impact. And I hope all of you know that as well. You're having an impact right now with your donations for those of you who are in a place where you're able to donate. I know not all of you are, which is fine. So thank you for that. And as was mentioned earlier, Jameson is matching all of the donations. So if you donate $1, you're actually donating $2 right now. If you donate 15, you're actually donating 30. Et cetera. And this, we've maybe had an offer like this one other time on our live stream. So this is, if you were thinking of donating a couple of bucks, now would be the time. We're only on here for about 10 more minutes. So thank you so much for the donations.
And I also want to point out, somebody asked what would have happened if his sentence hadn't been commuted. He was set to be executed that night. And Oklahoma has recently been in the news with regards to executions because there's a lot of chatter about the death penalty and how basically the death penalty is supposedly legal because it's not considered to be cruel or unusual punishment, which just by definition it is, but that's obviously not something the US believes in. But the idea is that it's not supposed to be torture, which if you've followed any of the cases in the past few years, it is, because the methods used in death penalty, well, basically in killing people who are on death row, like the chemical cocktail, for instance, has been likened to the chemical equivalent of being burned at the stake. You literally feel like you're on fire, and
Thank you, River Run.
It is excruciating. It is not short-lived. It goes on for a long time, and sometimes they have to administer it like more than once, and it's just really fucked. And so the idea by people who are saying that this should be illegal is that this is absolutely cruel. And as somebody just pointed out, it's not unusual, which, yes, I agree with that.
We are one of the only countries remaining that executes people on a regular basis. Truly repulsive and barbaric. We as humans have supposedly evolved. Here comes that evolution thing again. Supposedly evolved beyond this, but clearly not. It's pathetic. And every time we execute someone as a society, it's an indictment of our society. The true victims in many ways, or the secondary victims in many ways, is all of us that then have blood on our hands. So.
Yep. And and by the way, several states have also said that they will, that they're open to executing people via gas chamber. I'm not kidding. The Nazis got a lot of ideas.
Thanks, John.
And we want to return the favor. So the question basically is, at this point, should the death penalty be legal if this is how we're doing it? And even this is how fucked it is. Even the pharmaceutical companies that create these drugs have stopped selling it to the states. And you know how desperately Big Pharma wants to make sales. This is how bad it is that they're like, we're not selling to you anymore because we don't actually want our drugs to be used for this. That's how bad it is.
It was a big problem, quote unquote, under Trump, that the government couldn't find enough chemicals to kill people because other countries were refusing to ship the chemicals here.
So what's happening now is that they're getting it on the black market, which I think is really fucking ironic, that the states are literally buying drugs like in an alleyway in order to kill people, when they have people inside their institutions that are there for buying drugs in an alleyway just to get high. Not to kill people, but just to get high. Yet they are in jail for, decades, and yet the state can buy drugs in a shady alleyway deal to kill people, and that's totally fine.
And as His Holiness says, and I mean, this is someone who has the screen name His Holiness. I'm not talking about God or
the
anything.
Pope.
The Pope.
I don't think God's called His Holiness.
No? All right, I'm not talking about the Pope. But as His Holiness just said, quick reminder, the United States is the largest prison state in the planet, on the planet. We have the most prisoners per capita and the most prisoners total. So if you want to criticize prison states, then look no further than the United States. Thank you, Jennifer. $50,
Jennifer.
Which is actually going to be $100 donation because Jameson is going to match it. So that $50 creates $100 of help for people who are struggling. And if that is you, as we always try and make clear, if you need help, if you need to access the Solidarity Fund, please email Common Censored, that is an ED at the end, at protonmail.com, and let us know that you need a little help. It often takes us a week or two to get through them all. And it's, we're only talking about $50 to $80, but as we've read the thank yous, and actually I'll read two more thank yous, and this is your last chance to give. We're wrapping up soon. Last chance to give. All these donations are doubled. So
also, Rayborn brings up a good point here. The financial argument of housing an inmate is no longer valid due to all the appeals death row inmates now have.
Yep.
It costs much more. So and I like this point because there's always this cutthroat capitalist argument to actually do the right thing. So even if you are a soulless sociopath, there is still a very valid argument for abolishing the death penalty. You know, the same thing goes with oil and gas and coal. It actually doesn't make any fucking sense to continue pulling these fossil fuels from the earth from an economic standpoint purely, because the subsidies are astronomical and they make no sense. So again, like if you're talking, you know, this is all about constructing those arguments, right? And talking to people, you know, meeting them where they're at. And if they're really at that far end of the economic sociopathic scale, these are really powerful arguments.
Couple of thank yous real quick. Last chance to donate, folks. Ashley says, thank you so much. It really helps. Brandon says, you guys are the best. This made my day. Really appreciate you. And Dave says, just wanted to let you know I received the donation. I can't thank you enough. The timing on this, the timing on this couldn't have been better. They say when it rains, it pours, and Murphy's Law and all that. Well, my youngest daughter let us know she can't get out of her glasses anymore. Can't see out of her glasses. Apparently I can't see. She can't see out of her glasses anymore, and I've been racking my brain trying to figure out which new bill to let go past due in order to pay for new glasses for her. Thanks to you, that is one less burden I have. I know you aren't doing this just to feel good about yourselves, but you should anyway. And again, all of these thank yous are for you all who donate. As you can see, it really makes a difference in people's lives. If you're not listening to this live, donate on Venmo at Lee Camp. All those donations also go to people who are struggling. That's on Venmo, the app. Go to @Lee Camp and you can donate there.
Yes, and thank you all. This was really awesome. Thank you for donating. Again, a portion of the donations tonight are also going to the Baldwin House project, which is a housing co-op and mutual aid project that we're looking to build here in Washington, D.C. I put that in the Radical Eclectic.
Thank you. Radical Eclectic.
I shared that in the chat. I can do that again just real quick if you want to learn more about it. I'm also asking folks who are interested to donate there for my birthday and for Hanukkah and for not summer solstice, winter solstice.
Summer solstice.
I mean, also summer solstice.
Just donate for summer.
You're getting ahead
solstice
on your
right
donations.
Now. Thank you, Susan.
So there's that. Okay.
And I have to say this one more time. Eleanor's vinyl now available at artkillingapathy.com. Every purchase will be signed by Eleanor Goldfield. It includes 3 new songs and 2 new spoken word tracks, and it's an awesome vinyl record.
Thanks, y'all.
And of course, if you want it non-vinyl, it's out there for that too. But
yeah, you can also buy that at artkillingapathy.com.
Well, we can't thank you enough. I think even once we shut this off in a second, I think you can keep donating if you'd like. But either way, whether this is live or not, you can donate on Venmo at Lee Camp. This might be the last one we do for a few weeks, so we will miss you. But there will be plenty of other content coming out, such as our podcast or Redacted Tonight or many of the other things we do. So keep in touch.
And until next time, y'all stay safe and act out.
Keep fighting.